Hi everybody, Dr. Valerelli Kakos, your chiropractor and nutritionist. Today I'm going to talk about all this jargon that we hear about in reference to what eggs we're buying at the supermarket or at the farms or the farmers markets, wherever that we're getting our eggs from. Is there really a difference when we talk about conventional eggs and things like free range and pasture raised and organic? What are the differences, and does it make a difference? Do we need to spend a little extra money? Because you'll notice that when you start to go into the organic and the pasture raised, these eggs do tend to be more expensive. Is it worth it to spend the extra money on getting this type of quality egg? And the answer is a definite yes. Because if, just as a general rule, if you're not going to spend a little extra money for your health, if that's not worth it, where is it really worth it? That's one of the main places. I mean, it's just an investment in your health and on yourself and how you feel. The things that we eat make a huge impact on our health. So yes, these do make a really big difference. Conventional eggs, by the way, I'm talking about eggs. I'm also referring, this equates also to the chicken. So whether you're buying eggs or whether you're buying chicken, everything I'm going to talk about right now is it applies to both the eggs and the chicken, okay? Because we do eat a lot of chicken as well, and when we do eat a lot of eggs, so I think it's a really important issue. So the conventionally grown chickens and the conventional eggs that are coming from conventional chickens are chickens that are in cages typically, and 95% of the eggs in the US are conventionally grown. So what does that mean? They're given, first of all, 64 square inches of space to roam around in these battery cages that they're in. So they're very cramped quarters. They can't even move. They're just sitting there, okay? I mean, oftentimes they're just like on top of each other. So let's just even put it in perspective, in today's world, that 64 inches does not leave any room for social distancing. And if you think I'm saying this jokingly, I'm really not. The same reason we're told to social distance is the same reason why it's unhealthy for these chickens to be in these cramped quarters all the time. If one chicken sneezes on one part of the battery cage, all the other chickens are exposed to all those viruses and bacteria. They're just cramped up there. It's an unhealthy environment for them to begin with, so it leaves them already more susceptible to getting sick. And then the close because of all the stress, imagine you were all cramped up in a cage, the stress that you have, and stress is a big precursor to inflammation and illness. So just that alone, being in these very unhealthy environments, and then you have the close proximity to top it off, and they just don't have any room. If one of them gets sick, they all get sick. They're given antibiotics for that reason, as preventive measures and also as treatment. So now you have antibiotics in what you're eating, because you're eating what either the chickens or what they're producing. So those antibiotics are getting into your system too. We don't need that. Then they're also given hormones to fatten them up. These are for the chickens. Hormones are not given to egg-laying hens, but they are given to chickens. So if you're getting chickens to eat, they're given hormones so they can get big and fat really fast, so they can sell more by the pound. So another very unhealthy thing, then you're ingesting those hormones. Those hormones are going right into your system, and these are exogenous hormones. They're toxic to the body, as are those antibiotics. So not a good thing. So that they never see the conventional chickens also never see outdoors. They're always indoors. Not a natural environment for them. And their feed, obviously, they don't have access to their natural feed since they're in these cages, and they're fed a very poor diet, usually a very pro-inflammatory diet, oftentimes full of soy and God knows what other fillers that they put in there. And these feeds are very inflammatory, they're genetically modified, they're not even considered a food. So now you're eating that as well. So, yuck. Okay, that's all I had to say with that. Very easy, we all have access to better quality eggs, and I'm gonna run a little bit faster through the other differences that there are, but I just wanted to really instill the quality of food that you're getting is really reflected in how these animals are raised, okay? So I want you not to pay attention, when it comes to eggs, not to pay attention to hormone-free, because like I said before, egg-laying hens are never given hormones, but as far as chickens are concerned, it's a big deal, because now you're taking out these exogenous hormones and you're not adding that into your body, so it's a good thing. And things like all natural, don't even bother to listen to that. That's just a marketing term, means absolutely nothing. Okay, so that being said, eggs that come from vegetarian-fed chickens, or chickens that are vegetarian-fed, basically it's telling you they have no access to their regular feed, because what they eat in nature. Because what chickens eat in nature is grass and insects are not vegetarian. So vegetarian-fed is basically telling you that they do not have access to their regular food. Not a great thing. Also, those vegetarian feeds, like I said before, oftentimes are genetically modified foods, very high laden with soy. These are very pro-inflammatory, not a very good food, and a ton of other fillers in there. I don't even want to know what it is. Then we go on to cage-free eggs, and cage-free eggs are from chickens that are not in cages. So these chickens are not in cages. They have a little bit more space. It's a little more humane for them. That's another thing too. Do you want these chickens to be suffering? I don't mean to go into a whole thing, but do you want them to be suffering? Or at the very least, if they're going to be laying eggs for us, or if we're going to eventually be eating them as our food source, at the very least, they should be respected from the people that are growing them. So that's just something to think about. So cage-free means that they do have a little bit more space. They're not in cages, a little bit more humane, and does not mean that they get to see the outdoors, because typically they do not. So they're still raised indoors. Imagine you being enclosed indoors for an entire lifetime. It does not make you very healthy. Your entire biology and physiology will change. And it doesn't make you happy either. We're getting a little taste of that these days, unfortunately, even though we can go out, which is a beautiful thing. And this is something that, when you have stressed chickens, the reason why I bring up happiness, when you have stressed chickens or anything that's stressed, it does create inflammation in the body. It changes the entire hormonal profile. They change entirely, so that the quality of food is entirely different once it gets into your plate. But that's the story with cage-free. Then there's organic. And USDA organic chickens or eggs that come from, these chickens are at least fed organic feed. So there's no pesticides in them to worry about. One less toxin for your body to have to break down and try to get rid of. So don't, I'm going to stress again, those pesticides are very, very toxic to the body. So your body's working extra hard to break them down, doesn't even know what it is, and tries to get them out. I'm going to tell you something interesting too, in case you think that this is just from a health perspective, and if the health perspective is not enough to convince you, maybe the aesthetic perspective is, because when you have these type of toxins in your body, I'll have you know, it makes it very hard for you to lose weight. And I'll tell you why. When the body senses these toxins in the body, it tries to protect itself. And how does it do that? It protects itself because it has these toxins floating around, and it wants to encapsulate them. And guess what it encapsulates them with? Fat. It encapsulates them with fat. And if you don't have enough fat, it'll produce more. And it will not let go of that fat if those toxins are still there. So when you start eating a healthier diet with less toxins, that fat will slowly, just from that, start to melt away. People oftentimes have a hard time losing weight, and they don't know why. They think they're doing all the right things, they're calorie counting, this and that. Toxins are a big deal when it comes to weight loss. So I just wanted to throw that in there as a motivating factor. Okay, so organic eggs also are not in cages. and also do get some access to the outside, a big plus, okay? Next up is free-range chickens, which get access to the outdoors, and they're not caged. How much access to the outdoors is a whole big question. It could be just 1 hour a day, and it typically is. And they're not giving a lot of space to roam around, but better than being in a cage for sure, okay? And then we come to the Cadillac, as they say, or the Lamborghini of eggs, and that's pasture-raised. So pasture-raised eggs that are fed organic feed. But pasture-raised, let me clarify a little bit. Pasture-raised eggs now are given outdoor access. They have to have at least 108 square feet of free roaming per chicken. That's not bad, considering the conventional eggs in cages have 64 square inches. Huge difference. Now they're in the outdoors, in the fresh air, they're in the sunlight. They're not stressed out, okay? Less inflammation for them, less inflammatory stuff that we're eating, less inflammation for us. They're not given the fake feed of these soy and fillers and all that other stuff, because they're in the pasture, so they're feeding off of their regular food that they eat in regular nature, and that's grass and the insects. I know, I mean, that's not appetizing to us, but that is what chickens eat. So they have access to that. So now they're eating their natural foods. You can also find organic pasture raised. It doesn't always mean they're organic, and that means that the feed they're grazing on is organic and there's no pesticides in it. So that's really the ultimate thing. You can't always find pasture raised chickens or eggs, but they are starting to become more and more popular. You can definitely find them in places like Whole Foods. You can get them in small farms. There are other markets that are starting to carry them now. There's some markets here in my neighborhood that carry them, and I always opt for that. And you can see such a huge difference in the eggs. I've taken some photos for you. I'm going to post in the comments of the difference in the color of when you see an organic free-range egg, okay, which is the next up in line from the pasture-raised, and the difference in the color of the pasture-raised, that's just one step down the organic free-range. I ended up getting them because I was in a frenzy of I'm not going to be able to find food, let me get eggs, so I got them for that reason, because I couldn't find the pasture-raised, and I took pictures of both, and you can see the difference in the color. Nutrient content, that's nutrient content. B vitamins and everything like that. So when you're eating an egg that's a higher quality, it's an entirely different food than those lower quality. You know, they used to say eggs are high in cholesterol, they're this, they're that. That, first of all, that is not true when you're eating a good quality egg. Their fat profile, so their cholesterol, how it breaks down to cholesterol in your body, is not a problem. They're in a whole different category. So, plus the amount of vitamins that they have, plus they don't contain these toxins that your body has to work so hard. We're bombarded enough with toxins in the environment, from chemicals to, I won't even get to that here, it's a whole other thing, but you really want to give your body a break, and you want to really feed it nice, beautiful, nutrient-dense, gorgeous food, and really just honor yourself with that. I think it's a beautiful thing to do. So be well, everybody. I hope that answered some of the questions of how important it is and the quality of food that we're getting. Have a good day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.